Hey, today on Bub and Mother's, we're going to do a pork loin end, but with the bone in. Alright, we're going to smoke it outside. A little cool today. It's early fall up here in Maine, so it's about 40 degrees out there, but at least there's no wind today so we can get the smoker going. So we're going to get this all set up. We'll come back and season it. I'm going to go check on the fire, and we'll be right back. So as you can see, we've added a little bit of hickory wood to the lump charcoal. I prefer lump charcoal. It's less messy. Doesn't have that. It doesn't hold the lighter fluid as long, so you get that real wood taste in your meat. So you can see it. We've got some smoke coming, and we're coming up to temperature. We're probably about 180, 190. We want to get to between 2 and 250. We've got a good amount of smoke coming out. So let's get back inside, season up the meat, and get to work. All right, now that the fire's getting ready and the smoker is getting warmed up to temperature, so we'll be able to put this in. We're going to go ahead and season up. With pulled pork, you can go either way. I'm going to be using our Down East dinner dust. I'm not looking for that extra kick of spice that we have in our honey and heat. I just want a good bark, a nice smoky flavor, and we'll be using the honey heat for one of our little side dishes in a few minutes. So, the one nice thing with all of our rubs is you can really cover it up. It goes a long way. You know, a lot of these, you watch the guys in competition and they've got those giant bottles, and they go ahead and they use it, and that's fine. With this, with the seasonings, the dry blueberry and maple crystals, you don't need as much to get that really good flavor. The maple crystals help make for a really good bark too. Make sure you get it all over it, all the way around, all the sides, okay? You can pat it in if you want, you know, rub it up a little bit extra. Now, when we go outside, we're going to put it on bone end down. We want the meat to shrink off the bone. We want the bone flavor to get into the meat. All right, and we've got some fat, nice fat cap on it. I want to get that in there. Then we're going to go ahead, it's going to render down, keeping our meat nice and moist. Now again, this is a smaller roast, so we're probably looking at a 3-hour smoke to get this all the way done. But we'll see. Again, with the temperature being a little cooler outside, it may take us a little bit longer. When we come back, we're going to put her on the fire. All right, as you can see, we've got a good amount of smoke coming through. We've got our roast. We're up to temperature. So now, we're going to put it in. We're going to put it in on the half of the smoker away from the heat. The heat's coming out of the box over here, so we want it to get less heat and more smoke. I'm going to put it over there. I want to let her sit. And we'll be watching the fire. All we got to do is watch the temperature. And like I said, it's probably going to be a good 3 hours. We'll look at the internal temperature, but we're going to get a nice crust, bone-flavored, end-cut roast. It's going to be delicious. When we come back, we're going to start making up one of our side dishes for today. Hey, we're back. What have we got here? Well, you know, side dishes don't always have to be served with the main meal. Side dish is anything that, quite frankly, is not the main meal. But one of the more versatile side dishes that can go all the way through a meal is a salsa. And today we're going to just do a simple salsa. Nothing fancy, no cooking involved. All right, we've got our tomatoes just out of the garden here. These were the last ones we harvested this year. The rest of them we've all put into sauces, and put them up so we'll have nice sauce for the most of the winter. Alright, so we got some of those, and again, this is just a small batch. One of the keys, if you want to put up salsa, if you're into canning, if you use any ingredients other than tomatoes, so today for example we're going to be using corn. Corn is a neutral, and as such does not have a lot of acid in it. Alright, so what that means is that to put it up properly so that it will last and be preserved, you need to can it in a pressure cooker. Alright, so it's really important that you do that. If you don't, you can refrigerate it and it will last a little while, but it's not something that you can put up on the shelves for a later date. Alright, so we've got our tomatoes in there. And next we want to do our onion. Alright, and if you watch our videos, you know that I'm a Vidalia guy, and I love Vidalia onions because they're not overpowering, but you know they're there, and that's really what you want in almost any dish unless you're cooking an onion soup. Alright, get rid of these. Don't worry about cutting it up too fine. We're gonna, again, as you can see, I'm putting it in the blender. We're gonna blend this up. Alright, one of the neat ways, easier ways to do it is just, I kind of like to give it a little bit of a head start. Okay. And here, what we did was we had pre-froze our own garden green peppers. Okay. Again, not very spicy, but you know they're there. And you just want to chop them up a little bit. They're not very thick, so they will break up fairly simply by the time we're ready to blend this. Alright, so again, nothing too fancy. Get it in there. And I know that this is not for everybody. When I have my salsa, I'm a big fan of corn. I don't care if it's a black bean salsa, red salsa, spicy salsa, mild salsa. That little bit of sweet from corn can make all the difference in the world. Alright? You don't need a lot. Now how are we going to kick it up? Well, this is what I told you about earlier. We're going to use our honey and heat. Alright? And what's nice is we're using the whole blend. The heat is going to come from the chipotle. Now again, we don't need very much. Just enough to coat the top, and then we're going to mix this all up. And we'll show you that in just a second. Now, we've got it over here on the blender. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. And I don't know if you see, we've got a dice chop salsa button. Alright, and that'll pulse it, and it won't puree it. It won't make it just liquid. It'll leave it nice and meaty. So I'm going to go ahead and blend this. I don't want to leave it recording because the noise is deafening, so we'll be right back with it all blended. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a nice blend, and we're going to pour that into a jar. Put it in the refrigerator, let the rub, the honey and heat, blend in there a lot, marry all those flavors together, and by the time our pulled pork is ready, we're going to have a nice side dish. We'll be right back. Alright, we're back. Take a look. This thing made this is a full jar, this is a pint of salsa, definitely enough for all day. Now obviously you can do so many things with salsa. You know that we're out there, we're smoking a nice pork end with a bone in. It's going to end up being a great batch of pulled pork. With the salsa, you know, you can serve it. You can make pulled pork tacos, add the salsa with a little bit of lettuce, maybe some cheese. You can add it just as a little garnish to put on the pulled pork. If you're going to eat your pulled pork on a sandwich instead of coleslaw, put a little of this on it. And then of course, while you're waiting for your pulled pork, you can always do this, and I can tell you, you get the chipotle at the very end. But it's a very cool, refreshing salsa. The corn adds to the sweetness. Wonderful to have. And when we come back, we're going to go check up on our pork. Take a look at that. And you can see we're starting to get that good bark all the way around. But you'll notice we're still early enough in the cook that it's not pulling back from the bone yet. Probably another hour or so we'll be doing that. All right, here we are. Look at that beast. So, just to give you an idea, because again, it is pork, and we want it to have a good internal temperature. Make sure though, when you put your thermometer in, you're not touching the bone. The bone tends to hold a little bit more heat, and it could give you a false reading. We are right there at 160. Perfect. Okay, we got that nice bark, and yet, look at the juice. That is just flowing out of there. Get another fork. Just take that off. But I'm going to bring this a little bit closer to the camera, and hopefully you can see the difference. This nice pink, that's your smoke ring. Okay, that's what's going to give it that extra flavor. So we're going to let it sit for a little bit. Okay, basically let it rest. And then we're going to rip it apart, and when we come back, we'll be ready to serve. So, we'll see you in a few minutes. Now, as you can see, we've got the bone. We've got most of the meat trimmed off it. Do not give that bone to your dog. The pork bones are not much more, or not much stronger than a chicken bone, and they'll just splinter. You'll do your dog harm. Anyway, I'm just doing the finishing on the chops. But as you can see, we've got our bark. Got plenty of meat in the middle. And as you can see, the juice, the glistening. And again, that bark, I mean, you just peel it off. Man, you've got great taste, great fall weather, and you can do anything you want with it now. Like I said, we can do tacos, pulled pork sandwiches, pulled pork, we can add sauce to it. I'm just going to enjoy it. Till next time, John Furman from Bub and Mother's. Keep smoking.